Retirement is one of those things that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I thought to share with those that might wish to listen about what I've been contemplating, because as many of you who've watched my videos, you know that I have been talking about the pros and cons of living here versus Africa, or of living in the UK. But retirement, I'm considering both countries at the minute, and I'm going to share some of the things that I've been thinking about it and considering, which I'll be weighing together and will form part of my final decision of where I'll end up retiring. So retiring in the UK has a lot of advantages because the healthcare system is around, and if one requires care, you'll get care through social services, so you can get support and aftercare, and the medical care is free as well. And one of the things that I have been thinking about, though, apart from the care, is the loneliness in this country, because most people work really hard. If you've got children and families, you don't get to see them. I don't even get to see them now at this time in my life, because if we're lucky if we see each other at Christmas time. And I often think, what will life be like when I then retire? And family members are always going to be busy. I see a lot of people who have retired in this country, and loneliness is one of those things that they go through. And then reverse to Zimbabwe, families are always readily available to be able to spend time with you. And especially in the rural Zimbabwe, you'll be able to have visited, even uninvited visitors will pass through your home, and you'll be able to see them. Though the medical care, you have to pay, you have to have private medical aid should things go wrong. So that's one of the downside for that. But then again, I think, am I going to stay in a lonely, cold place and retire there just in case I get ill, and then spend my last years in this life feeling lonely? Or do I just take the risk and be in Africa, where I will be surrounded by people, happiness, and eating organic food, and you'll be having your chickens, you'll be having the animals, and that good life, that laughter? Is that going to help keep me happier? Because I know a lot of elderly relatives that have retired in the rural area. They're drinking fresh water. They don't have to worry about a lot of things, especially if you've got the infrastructure of a borehole, nice garden, and that little pension that one has can be able to afford some of the workforce you have, the seeds, and to be able to get you day-to-day food. And if you've been smart enough to have additional income, then perhaps that's the money that you put aside for a rainy day or in case you get ill. So I'm swaying towards Africa because of those reasons, that in Africa you don't even need to find somebody to come and visit you. They will just show up, and they will come with open arms, and they will stay with you as long as you want them to stay with you. So that's some of the advantages. But on the flip side, in England, I've seen people have all the material things that they need, that they require for survival, but the loneliness is unbelievable. Some people have even got their families living with them. But as you all know, that in this life, one is coming, one is going. People are working all the time. And also, the retirement age, I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, is 66. It's looking to go up to 67, and by 2028 it will be 68. So for most people who are looking to retire in this country, I think if you're born in 1977, the retirement age will have gone up, and it will probably continue to go up, because as people live longer, they will raise it, because they don't want people to be on pension money for far too long. So it's actually designed to make you work until you're near the end, so that you don't get paid your retirement wage for too long. So be mindful of that, those that are waiting for that pension. And what quality of life will you have when you've got no one visiting you? You know, that's why some people will end up losing their minds, because if you're not talking to people, if you're not interacting with people, if your mind is not being stimulated, you'll end up just getting depressed. And we know that in this country, the winters are long, and people don't even see their neighbors. You only see them in the summer, and people are very reserved in this country. They don't tend to come and knock on your door unless you've lived in that community for a long time. they've gotten to know you, then they might be able to pop in and offer you a meal. But the way the English life is that people do their own thing. They don't impose on other people. And that can really affect some people who come from cultures where, anyone can walk in and have a cup of tea without an appointment. People show up. And also in Africa, you have the home help. So as we get older, some of us who have worked for many years, hard jobs, in Africa, you'll be able to afford that home help. And for me, that's like a real dream. I just see myself taking it easy, doing the things that I love to do after having worked so hard, and being able to afford that home help. And that home help can also be company, can also be somebody who will be around and be there for you. So that's what's swaying me a lot more towards Africa, because I think the organic food, I think the family, the laughter, the growing my own vegetables, and having people around us, because at the end of the day, having lived in this country for far too long and spending most of our time at work, we just need that laid back place of retiring in a place where you be surrounded by love and laughter and people that you care about. But again, there's another issue that's going on with our generation. Most people, their families have come abroad. So some of the rural areas have been deserted. There are very few people there. Most have gone to South Africa. So rural area, as we knew it when we were growing up, I'm finding that it's getting lesser and lesser. But I'm also pleased that there are some people that are going to revive that life, revive, that growth there. So that's also something that we can plan with those that want to go, that actually, if you've got people in your family that want to go and spend time in the rural areas or wherever it is that you are retiring, to be able to form some community. I even know people that are buying a plot of land, building a retirement cluster home for those that are abroad, where they'll be able to help each other and maybe put some services there, like a clinic, which they will help fund using their pensions. I've seen that model in Ghana, where people are forming a little village and a community. Maybe that's something that if like-minded people can get together, they could recreate that life. But for me, I have managed to persuade my husband to retire back in Africa, but I think ultimately we will do it between Zimbabwe and Pembrokeshire initially, so that money permitting, we can spend the hot weather in Pembrokeshire and the winters in England back in rural Zimbabwe. So we both benefit. And as we get a lot older and our bodies start to slow even down, I'm not going to worry too much about the future to that extent, but I think we'll then decide where we'll settle. So in both locations, we'll be staying in our modest homes, and we will make sure that we put some stuff aside. That's what we're working hard for. But I'm swayed towards 50-50. And eventually, if my husband is not watching, Zimbabwe is probably going to win. But he loves the climate. He loves the weather. He loves the food. He always says that things are getting tougher in this country. Cost of living is getting much, much tougher. So there will come a time when things will not be affordable in this country. So I think for me, it's going to be Zimbabwe. Let me know your thoughts on some of the points that I've raised here. What are your thoughts? What are your worries about retiring in Africa? Obviously, it requires a lot of planning, both financially, but if you had your way, what would you do? Where would you retire? And what are your plans? Let's share in the comment section. I'd like to hear your input and your ideas to what I've said. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've watched it to the end, it's Shelley here. Be sure to subscribe and like and share the video so it can reach many more people. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for now. Bye for now.